Hi, and welcome to New York Sports Day TV. I'm Joe McDonald, publisher and editor of NewYorkSportsDay.com, coming to you live from the United States Open Fan Experience, sponsored by American Express. I am joined today with two of the reporters of New York Sports Day, Lloyd Carroll of the Queens Chronicle and Darrell Jazz Johnson of the New York Beacon. So we're here at the first week of the U.S. Open, a lot of tennis action this week, and we had a couple of upsets, a couple of surprises. What do you think, Lloyd? What do you think about what happened this week at the Open?
Well, luckily for American Express and American, Sloane Stephens was able to squeak by that first-round match and seems to be dominating, really on a roll here, Joe. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens on Sunday when, I guess, the showdown with Serena happens.
And how about you, Darrell?
I think it will be an interesting showdown on Sunday. Sloane Stephens, if Serena Williams wins tonight. Of course, they met in the Australian Open at the beginning of the year, a match that Sloane Stephens won. So I think Serena will really be looking to make that matchup 1-1 for the year, as opposed to losing two to the younger Sloane Stephens.
Now, you've covered Sloane since she started here at the Open for the last 3 years. How has she progressed along? She's had a tremendous record, I believe, in Grand Slams this year. What is she doing so much differently now than, say, over last year?
Well, first, the thing that I'm most impressed with Sloane Stephens is her poise. She's 20 years old. She doesn't play like she's 20 years old. And she's playing arguably her best Grand Slam tennis right now with her last two victories. She had the nervous jitters that she spoke about after her first round matchup that went 3 sets, but she's dominated her last 2 matches. So she's going in to face Serena Williams potentially on Sunday, playing the best tennis of her career. She will be the underdog. I think anyone facing Serena Williams at this time will be an underdog, but I think it's a match that she might be able to win.
Now, Lloyd, you covered the men's, what is this, your 30th Open or something like that?
Although I was around at Forest Hills. I go back to maybe Louis Armstrong. So
back to Louis Armstrong Stadium. Before they even built this, half of this stuff wasn't even here. It was all trees.
I think Bill Clinton was in his first administration, so yes, all right.
Okay, so at least 20 Opens probably for you.
That's a safe statement.
Okay, so you have been a follower of the men's seed for a very long time.
Absolutely.
What has surprised you this year?
What surprised me is there's still a few men still standing. I never would have predicted that. But John Isner so far is hanging in there. But let's face it, when the hardware is going to be given out, John will nowhere be near where the hardware is. He'll be on a bus or a plane somewhere out of here.
Well, here's the problem I find with Isner. He's not a closer. He reminds me of some of the Met closers of all the years. Like, he's an Aaron Heilman, okay? Or he's a Mike Pelfrey. He has all the talent in the world, but he can't close the deal. Like yesterday, he should have been able to kill Monfils in 3 sets. Kill him. Does he close it out? No. 4th set comes up, and what happens? You know, he did win. But, you know, it wouldn't have surprised anyone if that did go 5-6. I honestly think the guy gets paid by the point.
I would agree with you to a certain extent. You know, I jokingly say that Big John Isner coming in at 6'10" could easily be called the big disappointment because he hasn't been able to accomplish what many people have predicted him to accomplish, and we'll see. He potentially has a big matchup against Rafael Nadal. He played Nadal well the last time they played. Lost in straight sets, 7-6, 7-6, but he took both sets to a tiebreak. So we'll see what Isner can do if in the win the crowd is behind him in a match against Rafael Nadal.
Okay, so let's go for projection time. We first talked about the Sloane Stephens match. So let's say on Sunday night, who's going to win? Who's going to be the victor?
I'll take this. I'll take first dibs on this. I always believe in Nike over Under Armour. So under that theory, I always go with Serena Williams. I always believe if Sloane Stephens was really as good as you think she is, Darrell, Nike would have signed her, not that wannabe Under Armour out of Baltimore. Minor leagues, in my opinion.
I'm going to go with the upset special. Sloane beat Serena Williams at the Australian Open with the big camera on her, the biggest match, the biggest win of her career. I think she pulls it off again. I think she will stun the U.S. Open by knocking off the defending champion, the number 1 seed, Serena Williams, on Sunday in advance to the quarterfinals.
If I have to throw a prediction out there, and I'm going to say it's going to go 3 sets, and in the end of the day, Serena Williams will come out the victor. All right, moving along. And you started discussing this, and the Roger Federer logo. You wanted? Did you mention it to him in a presser, or you want to mention it to him?
It was yesterday. Actually, Mark Berman of the New York Post ran with my article. Mark, I want a piece of your salary for that. Anyway, yes, we asked Roger. He came in with this famous RF Nike logo. And what's amazing about that, I've covered golf tournaments, and you see the famous Tiger Woods TW. Nobody wears that. But here you come into the U.S. Open, it seems like half of America is wearing that RF shirt logo. So I asked Federer, how many units has he sold? Is he surprised by how successful it is? Did he design it? He claims that he had something to do with the design. I'm not so sure about that. I did ask him, how many units did you sell of that? He goes, well, I really don't know. I guess I could call Nike, and I asked him if he could make a phone call to Phil Knight for me, so next time we meet, he does his homework. I hate a player who comes unprepared for business questions.
Dinner, right?
Well, this isn't if he wants to meet me for dinner, that's fine, as long as he's picking up the tab. But I'll settle for interview room 1, Joe.
Okay, so moving with let's move away from the Open right now, because we want to also discuss one other thing, and we're coming to you live from the U.S. Open American Express fan experience here at the Open. So, but let's talk baseball and the pennant races for about 2 minutes on our last segment here, and let's discuss first the Yankees. Are they going to make the playoffs?
You know, Joe, I never bet against the Yankees. I know right now it looks pretty glum and pretty bleak, but I believe like a thoroughbred horse, they always seem to manage to cross the finish line when they have to. I'm looking forward to seeing Alex Rodriguez get that trophy in a ticker tape parade. That would make me very happy.
Well, no, you probably really want to see him get the $6 million for catching Willie Mays too, right?
Willie Mays wish he could have been half the player that A-Rod is.
Well, the steroids is the other half, but at the same time, I'm going to say no, they will not make the playoffs, and you know why? They're too far behind. They're too much of too many old players, too much of a slump, too many things that could go wrong. CC Sabathia is not an ace anymore. There is no way that they're playing in October with the exception of golf.
I think I'm going to break the tie and go with Joe on this one. I agree. I do not think the New York Yankees are going to make the playoffs this year. They had that streak where they got back into contention, but they've been shaky over the last week or so. That's been the New York Yankees of the 2013 season. You have an old Derek Jeter. You have an old Alex Rodriguez. You have a aging CC Sabathia, as Joe correctly mentioned, isn't an ace anymore. I think they will stumble to the end of the season and will, unfortunately for New York baseball fans, not make the playoffs this year.
All right, and now let's go over to our heroes across the street in Queens, the New York Mets, a team Lloyd knows very well, and a team Darrell knows very well, as we have been covering the Mets. I think, Lloyd, you've been covering them since the Reagan administration. I've been covering them since the George W. Bush administration, and you probably only how many years?
3 years.
3 years. So it's the Obama administration. So big off season for the Mets, because we can't talk about the team anymore. And who do you think is going to be their big acquisition?
As much as I want to say that I think the Mets are actually going to go out this offseason and open up the wallet, as a New York Mets fan since 1983, I don't expect that to happen. I expect more disappointment. I expect them to go into the season and compete, but I don't expect them to compete for any big-name free agents. I don't expect them to make a big trade this season. I expect them to kind of stay pat, and I think the Matt Harvey injury, though it shouldn't play much of a factor into what they do in the offseason, I think it's going to make them a little gun-shy.
Sandy Alderson likes playing small ball. I once wrote an article called Puny Ball. That big names scare Sandy. The trade we just saw where they dealt Marlon Byrd and John Buck, even though we all agree baseball-wise it makes sense at this juncture, is typical. Unfortunately, it's typical of what we've come to see from the Mets. I think that old Dido song, White Flag, should be the theme song over at Citi Field for the next 2 years.
Well, now they're going to make some moves and acquisitions, and I'm going to sit here and say I'm going to go out on the wire. They're going to go and trade for Michael Kadire of the Colorado Rockies. He's David Wright's best friend. He has 1 year left on his contract for $10 million. It's a low-risk, high-reward. They'll trade 2 mid-level prospects from AA for him. He will be in right field. They'll also trade for Johnny Peralta, coming off the 50-game suspension. Detroit could probably get rid of him, and unless he's a free agent, which I believe he may be, he's going to be the shortstop of the New York Mets next year. Bank it, book it. That's what's going to happen. And so, and finally, and you heard it first from the Kilt.
Absolutely.
Yes, the Kilt. And at the same time, and just to give a plug to a friend's company, this is an American Highlander kilt who actually gave me this kilt. So it's AmericanHighlander.com.
I think we don't manufacture anything in this country.
No, he bought some from Scotland and England. So anyway, American Highlander. Anyway, final thoughts. I'll give Jarrell first.
It's been a very interesting week so far here at the U.S. Open. First 5 days, Victoria Duval's win over 2011 U.S. Open champion Samantha Stosur thus far has been the most impactful moment to me. She was 16 years old last year when she faced Kim Clijsters on Ash, and to see her go from that level to actually being able to defeat Sam Stosur on Armstrong was a pretty remarkable moment, and a big moment for American women's tennis, I want to say, and I'm looking forward to see the growth of Victoria Duval in the future. She lost last night, so she did not advance to the third round, but looking forward to see how much she improves from 17 to 18.
Lloyd, final thoughts, anything in sports?
Well, actually, I want to give a shout-out here to the U.S. Open American Express Experience. This is the 40th anniversary of the Bobby Riggs-Billie Jean King match. I guess it'll be September 73. I'm old enough to remember that. And it was absolutely brought back a lot of warm memories, seeing the memorabilia, seeing the outfits that both Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs wore. So if you're coming to the U.S. Open, make sure you stop by the American Express Fan Experience and check that exhibit out. Terrific.
And my final thought is going to be on the New York Jets. We're looking at about a 2 or 3 win season. The only thing that's preventing them from maybe not getting from being the worst team in football is the Buffalo Bills are the worst team in football, and they play them twice. Rex Ryan is probably may not make the season. We're looking at the middle of the season, probably around November, that he's going to get the boot. Marty Mahoney is going to be the new coach of the Jets to the end of the season. Mark Sanchez is going to be the starting quarterback when he gets back, and he's going to get hurt again. Geno Smith is another Jamarcus Russell, and it's going to be one of those. It's going to be a disaster in Florham Park. So for Darrell Johnson, Lloyd Carroll, I am Joe McDonald live from the U.S. Open American Express Fan Experience for New York Sports Day TV. We'll be coming back to you live next week. Check our YouTube page. Thanks.